Working through the legal system is challenging and risky, especially if you don't have the right attorney at your side. Hi, my name is Sonia Aston, and I'm an attorney with over 30 years of experience. I've helped small and medium-sized businesses and business owners to make sure that their legal rights and interests are protected. As general counsel for you and your organization, I can draft and review solid contracts, minimize the risk of litigation, review and prepare comprehensive business succession plans, or help you navigate your company with the local, state, and federal government. Take a decisive step today. I'm here to make sure your legal rights are protected and you have a peace of mind that you deserve.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. I'm here because I believe that iron sharpens iron, and when we bring successful entrepreneurs, investors, and executives to share what's working in business and maybe what isn't as well, we're all able to link arms, grow together, and the ripple effect of that is tremendous. It not only impacts ourselves, our own businesses, our teams, and their families, but also impacts our communities and our world. I'm really excited to be here today. I have an excellent guest in studio. He is one of the youngest entrepreneurs to be inducted into the Texas Business Hall of Fame, and he has done so many things at such an early age of 21. Welcome to the studio, Wade McCrory, founder and CEO of Premier Outdoor Movies.
Thank you so much, Jen. I am super pumped to be here and just be able to talk to you today is phenomenal.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to dive right in like we were talking about earlier. You're very youthful for a successful entrepreneur. Tell me a little bit about how this came to being. I mean, you are 21 years old today and you have a successful business. Talk to me a little bit about how that evolved.
For the most part, it's been part of my life entirely. Ever since I was little, I did stuff in business, and it has dramatically evolved into something much larger than I ever would have expected it to. But I mean, for the most part, it's just I enjoy the challenge of it, and I enjoy the constantly changing environments and the constant just kind of moving into every different direction. It feels like all the time every day there's something new to be solved. So that I couldn't tell you how it really just happened. It was one of those things that just started happening, and I just started getting into.
And so here you are, you're in college, you have a year left, and you launch a business, and you have to press pause on this. Talk to me about the feelings or the thought process that went into pressing pause when you were a year from graduation and going full into business because the business was just growing that rapidly.
Yeah, that was a difficult decision for sure. The biggest guidance I give on that, it was something that I had to figure out too, because it's so far against what society is kind of pushed to go do. We're told to go to high school and then go to college right after and go finish college and then go on to the next thing, and you start what you finish. But it was especially with Premier, it kind of started out of nowhere and kind of grew rapidly, unexpectedly, and there was a moment in time where college, with classes and everything, and then also business operations in general, became way too much to handle on a mental side of things. And so it became a decision of, how do I protect myself? And I'm living my dream right now. I'm in business, doing the things that I love doing, and I can't leave that alone. You're given those certain opportunities at those certain times, and you got to take the opportunities while you have them. So I know that college is there in the future, and I know that I'll be going back to finish that last year, but right now the business is what needs my full attention and focus. And like you said, I mean, I only have a year left, so it won't be that difficult to go back and finish.
Absolutely, and I can imagine, because as a parent and now a grandparent myself, I know I was raised in that same way, right? You do one thing, you finish, you do, but the entrepreneurial mindset doesn't really work that way.
No, it
when
doesn't.
you're an entrepreneur, if you see an opportunity, you've got to grab it and go. And you have to be able to do and be willing to do whatever it takes to get to that end goal. That's really the definition of success in entrepreneurship. And so you were the model of that. You went against everything. And I'm sure, like as a parent, I'm sure that you heard some things from yours. Talk to me about how that has evolved for you personally and also professionally, because you made a big choice. And you pursued the entrepreneur life. You've been very successful with it. And as someone so young, you know, your peers are still in school, maybe. How does that dynamic change on the personal side? Because this show, we like to talk about the business and the life, right? And what we do in our personal life impacts our business. And sometimes we have to change our circle. So talk to me about that, because as someone so young, that's a pivotal transitional time anyway in life. How did that work for you? How were you able to navigate the life side of being an entrepreneur at 21?
So for the longest time, I actually was fighting the entrepreneurship path, the entrepreneurial path in general. I was fighting against it, trying to not do it, because I didn't want to go against the normality. I wanted to finish school. I wanted to do it in sequence, and just everything in that whole aspect of things. I wanted to make sure that I did things in the right order. So I really did push back on it. And that's what made life difficult, and what made school so much more difficult, because I was constantly thinking about, 2 more classes ahead of what I was actually on, and so the concepts didn't make sense, and so I was struggling in that aspect. As soon as I committed to just biting the bullet and going to do it, my life actually got a little bit easier, because you grow into that different mindset almost immediately. I mean, you have to adjust quick, because things change in the business quick. And so the whole thing about like who I was hanging around and who I was really considering my inner circle, within about 30 days it changed, because I had things that came up that were a priority to me, because just like any business owner would say, that business, if you don't have any children, it is a child. And you have the same connection to that as you would a child. And so I treat my business like my child, and anything that business needs, it's going to get taken care of at really any sacrifice. And it surely did change the dynamic of my social life. My circle now is no longer an average age of 19, 20, and 21. It's 40s, 50s, and 60s, which is totally fine with me. I love it, because they talk about the same things I talk about, and the people, my age and the friends I used to hang out with, they didn't find that very interesting. They wanted to talk about sports and stuff, and that's just, I don't find much fascination in that. So
it's not where you are. And something that we talk about a lot on this show is when you're an entrepreneur, you have to surround yourself by other entrepreneurs, because people who are not in that arena, if you will, with you, they don't really understand the challenges. And entrepreneurship requires a lot of, I call it moxie, grit, perseverance, hard work ethic. It's not like you work a 9 to 5 even. It's not even the conversation of being in college and having a job. Like, your hours are crazy as an entrepreneur, and when the opportunity rises, you have to be able to drop what you're doing and follow it. So, and having gone through it myself, and with several other people in our mutual circles, it's not easy to change the circle of influence. And you did it relatively rapidly at a very early age. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask you the next question, because I ask this to a lot of entrepreneurs, but I think your perspective is very unique because of your age group. And so how did you find that new group, that group of entrepreneurs and investors that was going to get you to that successful next level? Because it was so far removed from who you were already spending time with.
So the main thing with that was I actually joined a real estate school, because my first company I ever started was, first legal company I started was actually a real estate company. Filed my first LLC, got all the tax paperwork, all the fun business stuff. That was my first one, and so I actually started going to real estate school in Nevada, and I met a lady by the name of Tam, and Tam was friends with people within my current network and our mutual network. And she invited me out to this event in Dallas, where it was a networking event to meet all these people, and I was like, for sure. Never met this lady in person. I think it'd be great to meet you in person, and I love talking to people. So I went, And it was at that point that I realized that that was the type of group that I need to be around. And even though I was the youngest one there by 20 years, that was my place. And I knew it was my place. And so I started going frequently. I was traveling. Now what used to be a 4-hour drive back home on the weekends sometimes turned into 4-hour flights across the nation to go meet people for 2 days and listen to somebody talk about their problems in their business and how they fixed them. So that dynamic changed real quick, and it took the change in dynamic for everything to really take place as it's taking place now, especially even in like our family dynamic. Like this is not how we've operated as a family before this all started. And so when I tell my family or my close friends now, hey, sorry, last minute trip, I'm leaving at 8 o'clock tonight for Vegas or LA for a meeting, I'll be back tomorrow at 2, they're like, what in the world? Like that makes no sense at all, because it's just not normal. But the long hours, I could very much agree, it's not normal. People still, just like we talked about earlier at lunch, it's one of those things where nobody else will understand unless you're in it.
Absolutely. And you know, it really takes a lot of positive people who have been there, who have done it, for us to learn and grow, for us to truly reach our next level of success. Because the reality is, if we stay in our circle where we are now, we are going to stay at the same level that we are now. But when we put ourselves in rooms where we're able to learn and grow from others who've been there and done that and are at the next level, we're able to grow just along with it. And we talk about that a lot in here, but I just really appreciate your perspective, because it's not something that most of us have to deal with in entrepreneurship. Most of us have moved beyond the college years. We've kind of established ourselves. Some of us have worked in a job or whatnot, and then we transition. So thank you for your unique perspective. And I'm going to ask the next question, because raising money is something that I know you have done.
Yes.
And raising capital is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And as someone so young, who looks young, and how is it that you were able to establish yourself and get that first group of investors and then go for the next round and the next round? Like, what is it that you have found that you have been able to pull together and do? What are the unique challenges that you've faced? Because raising money is unique to all entrepreneurs. And it's always a challenge, but I imagine that the youthfulness, I mean, like the questions as an investor, well, what have you got? What is your body of work? Like, we don't have a whole lot to go on. So how are you able to break into that and then continue to move forward?
So the first time was kind of funny, the first time I raised money. And yes, I will say it is very difficult to raise capital, especially if you have no experience and you're also fairly young. It's extremely difficult. But the first time I ever raised funds, I didn't ask for a lot initially, and I found a business and an idea that didn't take much capital to get started. I knew I was going to have to really grind at it and really put in some hardcore work, sweat equity, rather than, the financial equity to bring somebody else in to help run everything. So I knew it would be all on me, but there was actually a misinterpretation of my age when I initially asked for that $40,000 check from a group of people. They thought I was 24, but at the time I was 20. So they thought I was, they thought I was a little bit more mature and a little bit older than what I really was. And then about almost a year later, the news got out that I hadn't even turned 21 yet. I was about to turn 21. So the first time it was a misinterpretation on the age, and I didn't try to hold that from anybody. It would just never got up, but people just made assumptions, which I'm grateful for that, because I probably wouldn't have got the money. But we paid back the reason we got that second round of funding, that second phase, was because we paid back all the money plus the high rate interest return. On a 183-day note, we paid it back in 83 days. So we paid back a lot earlier than what was expected. And so when we came back in for that next round of money, which was a little bit larger, we had at that point proven the concept to a point. And we built that credibility with that group of investors who knew more investors. And so that's how we pulled in that second phase.
And so that's like anything in business, right? And you and I talked about this previously in another conversation, but I really want to talk about this concept of under promising and over delivering. You did that with your capital raise, and so many times as an investor, and I've invested in a lot of things, people always show you the bright, shiny. They don't consider, what might go wrong, and they give you this unrealistic expectation, whether it's the return, whether it's the time to return, whether it's the ease. It's always the best case scenario that they're putting forward. You gave us a very long time for a small amount of money with a high rate of return, and then you over-delivered by 100 days on the money, honoring all of those promises. And in business, this is such an important concept, because it doesn't matter whether you're a startup, whether you're launching your next line or your product or your service. You always have to prove your concept, but you also want to always under-promise and over-deliver, because that's what keeps the lifetime value of your clientele coming back. And so you've carried that not just in the investment world, but you also apply that in your business. Can you shed a little light on that and how you're able to determine, okay, this is what I'm going to ask for. I know I can do it in this amount of time if I do X, Y, and Z, so that I can over deliver, and talk about it on the money side, but also talk about it on the business side too, because the client experience is your area of expertise.
Yes. So my biggest and most favorite thing to work on in the business is the client experience. I love it. I crave it. My late night brainstorming is usually something about client experience, and we usually implement it. Speed of implementation is one of my biggest things. So we usually have all of the things that I come up with at 3 o'clock in the morning when I can't sleep by the end of week. So it might be Thursday, but it'll be implemented by the next day, Friday at midnight, usually. So I'm really big on implementing things as quickly as possible. That's one of the big strategy points right there. But when it comes to the over-promising or under-promising and over-delivering part, was exactly that was my strategy right from the beginning when we raised that first round of capital. So initially I was like, okay, I'm going to use the full 183 days because I don't know if this is going to work, but I believe in it. I think it has a lot of potential. And if we pay back early, great. When I started seeing things moving the way they were and growing at the pace they were, that made me push even harder, because I was determined to have that 100-day marker, right? Because it sounds a lot. 100 sounds a lot better than 99. So we pushed everything even harder and harder and harder to be able to say that we paid back 100 days earlier and less than half the time that we needed, so that I could raise that second phase of capital, and it worked. And I continue to pursue that same strategy within our second phase right now, which ends towards the end of this year. So we're making good progress. We're about between 2 and 3 months ahead of schedule at the moment with return of capital. When it comes to our customer experience, we actually don't, and people are going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but we actually don't advertise all of the things that we include with our offerings within Premier. So when somebody books with us, usually they're like, oh, can we add popcorn? Oh, can we add this add-on? Or we don't have power, we need generators. Every other company in the nation charges for those services. We charge a premium rate and include everything. So we don't do I don't like add-ons personally, so I didn't want it in my business either. So we charge a premium rate, but we include everything. So it also creates that consistency with our team. Mm-hmm. So it's the same event every time, just a different size screen. It's not like, oh, well, Tammy last week, she had a popcorn machine, and Patricia this weekend and doesn't. So we got to change. We got to change. It's still something else. That's a bottleneck that could occur. It's something else that the team has to worry about. If we do the same thing every single time, the team's just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you create processes and systems and consistency with everybody. It becomes a lot easier to deal with on customer experience side and your team management side.
Well, and you control the quality, because exactly. What will happen if they don't do, if you're not doing add-ons, then you've got other vendors that you have to consider, and you don't know how that's going to happen, and you're able to make it faster, more effective, more efficient, because you're doing the same thing every time, delivering that, I would call it a concierge, all-inclusive sort of experience. And so I commend you for that. That's really amazing that you thought about that, because a lot of times it happens in the opposite way, right? You have a business idea, you have a product or a service that works, and then you notice all the other things that need to go into play to have the experience that you want, and so then you work to build out the other verticals. You kind of looked at it the opposite way. You looked at the whole picture and you said, well, wait, I'm just going to include everything because nobody else is doing that. I'm going to charge a little bit more, but I'm going to have happy customers from the get-go because I don't have to come back and chip away and build other things out. And I really would love to dig into your brain a little bit about that, because most entrepreneurs, that's a question I know. That's a question I'm going to get. Well, how are you able to see that? What is your process that you're able to see the finished product and see that holistic experience so that you could deliver that from the get-go?
Well, my main thing with that is the way we market is fully white glove service, right? Never get your hands dirty. All of the ideas I had from the beginning of starting this company was the fact that I tried to hire somebody myself to come do something for one of the organizations I was involved with, and it was a total disaster. It was just a chaotic mess. Every part of it, I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to move forward because I never dealt with that certain industry before. And so the entire model actually was built around the faults of all the other companies in the industry. So we went to market solving all the problems that we saw from all the providers around the nation. And that was how I really saw the bigger picture, because I was thinking at that time from the consumer standpoint. I was thinking, I wish this company would just do this too. I wish this company would just do this. I'm irritated that this company doesn't do this because now I have to go to this other company and get this other service and pay a premium rate because they have to drive out here. You know, it's like, it was 10 times more expensive because I had to have 4 different companies come do things. And the whole time I wish there was a company that did this. And then I started looking and there wasn't a company that did that. And still to this day, a year later, there is another company that's trying to compete with us, because the logistics part of it is very, very difficult. And I can see why the companies now that were already present in the market aren't doing it. And it's because of the logistics aspect. I luckily had some experience with the logistics side from a previous encounter that I had within a previous career, but the whole big picture was really built around the concept of me being the consumer at the time and being irritated with what the market was currently providing, and it just, in my eyes, was not satisfactory.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we talk about this a lot. We talk about what is the customer's perspective. We should not be developing our products and services with our perspective of what we think. It's really, what does the customer want? What is the customer going to pay for? What are the pain points of the customer? And you have really just embodied that in such a great way. If you were at home and you were listening to this or you are watching this, that is a writer downer. Like, come from the consumer's perspective. Solve all of the customer's problems to make it a seamless, amazing experience. And that's really what commands the higher price point and what allows you to have that scalable success, because you're controlling the variables. And so many times we forget to look at it from that perspective, or we don't consider all the things. And I would call this due diligence. I would call this consumer due diligence. And you're an expert at that, Wade. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
We are going to go to break in just a moment. But before we do, tell me, when you went through that, for the people at home, if they're like, okay, great, I want to learn to do this, and they've never really kind of taken that customer perspective approach, what are like 1 or 2 things that they can start practicing today that can move the needle for them?
So I would say I'm a super visual person. I'm not auditorial at all. That's very difficult for me. That's why I'm awful in board meetings and meetings in general, because I'm the person that stresses everybody else walking around. I can't just sit and listen. So my biggest thing, especially when it comes to customer experience and perceiving something as the customer, is I put myself in the email threads. Like, that's just one example. I put myself in my own email threads that I write, just to see how it comes across. Like, if I open my inbox in the morning and I got an email from Premier Movies of Texas and I open it, how do I feel opening the email? Does it look good with the other emails? Like, I'm super picky about how everything looks. So I put myself in the shoes as if I was looking to rent a screen, or rent a service for the evening. The other thing I do is, like I said, I'm very visual. I map everything out. So there's wonderful free resources online that you can build these mind maps. And so every single point that a client that we have, or a prospect that we have, or something they could feel, is on this map. We have now, when we first started it, we had like 12 or 13 different steps. Now, as of last week, we had just crossed over 1,000 touch points from the first time we interact with somebody on social to the time the event starts. Then there's a whole nother sequence for the event itself and post-event. So especially if you're starting out, the biggest thing is just map out, create an outline of just different sections of when your customer engages with your business, right? Are we submitting a lead? Like, is that the first step, is submitting a lead, or is it engaging with the post? And then where do we end? So just create different sections for each part of that cycle, and then from there, build it out more, and it'll give you a more perspective view of how they feel and see things in the long term of their journey with the company itself. And then also don't forget to put yourself in their shoes, literally. Make yourself a contact, make yourself a client, receive the emails, receive the contact, follow the accounts in your personal profiles, see how it comes across on the feeds. Just be involved with the actual process itself.
I love it. So put yourself in your client's shoes. That's the first step, and then mind map everything. And there are a tremendous amount of resources. I use Xmind for my mind maps that you can just Google mind map, and it will send you a whole bunch of free opportunities for that. Wade, that was absolutely amazing. We do have to take a brief break. We will be back after these short messages.
Hey, Lily says AT&T's giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Are you ready to talk about all things real estate? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, the host of Your Person Real Estate. Join me every Thursday at 5 p.m. and discover everything you should know about the real estate world.
You probably already know that first impressions are never forgotten. However, did you also know the way you feel about yourself contributes to your quality of life and the opinions of others? Hi, my name is Kristen Gunderson. My mission is to help people by flipping the switch inside their body, which in turn will help them to feel better and do more. In fact, once you feel your best, you will be able to pour into others, keep your cup full, and reach every goal you have set up for yourself, whether it's personal, family, or business related. The way you feel will dictate the way you think and the way you live your life. Feeling your best is necessary to achieve your goals. You deserve to put yourself first. Let me help you flip the switch so you can feel better and do more. Let's talk. I know I can help.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
¿Estás cansado de la inseguridad, la situación económica y de ya sabes quién? ¿Te gustaría salir de México y emigrar a Estados Unidos? Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como inmigrante emprendedor en Estados Unidos. Sígueme en todas mis redes sociales para que juntos logremos ese gran sueño de emigrar y lograr conquistar el mercado americano.
Working through the legal system is challenging and risky, especially if you don't have the right attorney at your side. Hi, my name is Sonia Aston, and I'm an attorney with over 30 years of experience. I've helped small and medium-sized businesses and business owners to make sure that their legal rights and interests are protected. As general counsel for you and your organization, I can draft and review solid contracts, minimize the risk of litigation, review and prepare comprehensive business succession plans, or help you navigate your company with the local, state, and federal government. Take a decisive step today. I'm here to make sure your legal rights are protected and you have a peace of mind that you deserve.
Bienvenidos a Interior Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Interior, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Interior, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana. Interior, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, Truth Behind the Business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and business strategist. And if you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to nowmedia.tv, click on shows, go to Power CEOs, and catch the first segment. Why? Because I am here with 21-year-old successful entrepreneur Wade McCrory. He was inducted in the Texas Business Hall of Fame. He's someone to watch out for. He's a future legend in business. And he has been sharing a lot about how to how to under-promise and over-deliver, how to have the best client experience. We talked about mapping out that client journey for that client experience. And we talked about how to get investors to take you seriously when you're a young entrepreneur. And so I want to come right back to that concept and ask you a couple questions that we were chatting about in the break, Wade. And the first one is, you literally started this business, you left your last year of college yet undone to pursue this outdoor movies business. You've been successful, you're continuing to climb and grow, you're scaling. And so what was it that you did differently in your younger years? Like, what were you doing in high school while everybody else was going home, maybe doing homework and then vegging out on TV or video games? What was it that you did differently that gave you the skill sets to be this successful at this early age?
I mean, honestly, my high school days were not much different than everybody else's. I still did the same things. I still went to the football games on Friday nights. I was in the band. I was in honors classes. I did normal things. Like there was nothing that I did that was kind of crazy. I still watched TV. I still played video games at the time. We don't do that anymore because we don't have time to do that anymore. But in high school, I was a normal high schooler. Like I still was involved with homecoming, and that my senior year I was student council president and student body president, and then me and one of my best friends, her and I won homecoming king and queen our senior years right before COVID happened, because I was a COVID senior, so our senior year actually got cut short. But in high school I was normal. Like if you look at what normal is, right? So
anybody can do it.
Yes, that's at the end of the day, that's what it is. And it wasn't until I knew that's always what I wanted to do, and I always crammed things that I wanted to do into my time on the weekends or my free time, because starting senior year of high school, I mean, most people in my high school at least had jobs, and so that's what I did. I got out of school at 2:35, and I worked from 3 to 11 Monday through Saturday, and would go home after work and do my homework and go to football games on Friday nights if I was off. And I just worked and did school and did the normal things. And it wasn't until college that I really started going crazy with business in general. I always had my small little businesses, like we spoke about earlier at lunch, when I did the pickles, like, right? That was a spontaneous impulse, was I started growing a garden and learned how to make pickles and go to the farmer's market and sell them. I had a chicken business for a while where I would raise chickens up and sell the eggs. So like I had these little micro businesses, but it was never anything like the size of it now. But you could change your trajectory in the matter of months, really days. The mindset part, you can really change in a matter of days. If you want something bad enough, you can change that mindset and tomorrow start and go if you're disciplined enough to do it. So there isn't anything that I started 8 years ago that's present now. It was last February. February 10th of last year was when I started the real estate company. So that's how quickly life has changed.
And truly, you know, our habits, I want to talk about this too, because we talk about what our habits are for success. Our daily habits, the things we do in the day-to-day today are going to bring about our success in 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, you know, so on and so forth. And where we are today is a culmination of the daily habits that we had leading up to today. And so when you shifted from normal teenager to entrepreneurial teenager, what habits shifted? Like, what did that look like for you? Because you already said you kind of turned it over in about a 30-day time period, but what kind of changes, what were the small habit changes that helped you to swing that door open into entrepreneurship?
I mean, that one's honestly a hard one, because there weren't, at that time, last February into June, July of last year, I really don't remember much of that time. If we're being honest, I don't remember really what I was changing or doing, because I don't feel like I was changing or doing like anything differently. And it was just kind of implementing something new into my life and having to adjust everything else kind of around it. And I would say the first thing I shifted was like my sleeping schedule, right? Because I went from having 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night to having 4 or 5, and now even less than that sometimes. But that was my biggest transition when it came to habitual things, was having to have that habit of going to bed at a certain time and getting up at a certain time and sticking on it. Now things are so crazy that's not an active habit. I don't have a sleeping habit. It's kind of whenever I have time to do it. But back then it really dialed down to sleep. That was really the first thing I changed.
And what I heard you say also was your priorities shifted. You prioritized your business activities and shifted your whole life around it. So when we think about this, because I'm coming at this from the, hey, I've got a lot going on, I'm in college, I'm working, I'm doing all these things, and now I'm starting up a business. You had to shift and create the time to devote to your business in order, and the rest of your life sort of fit around. And some things have fallen off, as we discussed in the first segment. You know, your last year of college has fallen off right now because it's just not that priority right now. So while you haven't necessarily stated it, what I'm hearing through all your stories and all the things that you've shared with us is you have shifted your priorities, and your priorities are your business, and the rest of your life fits around your business. So you've really kind of integrated your life around what it is that you're doing and where you're going.
That, in summary, that's exactly what it is. There were so many things that actually did change from in that time span of moving from college and a 9-to-5 to the entrepreneurial lifestyle. There were so many things were changing. I think that's a lot of the reason I don't remember much of that time. Things move so quickly. It's hard for me to remember stuff like that. But what you said about integration, of like integrating the rest of life around the business. On episode 3 of my podcast a few months ago, I had one of my advisory board members on, Sammy De La O, and she and I talked about something we call inside Premier and inside the companies themselves, the integration of life and business. Because a lot of people talk about the work-life, personal life balance, right? And I don't, especially in an entrepreneurial world, I don't believe much in that, because you don't know when you wake up in the morning, especially in an entrepreneur setting, what's going to happen that day. You have no idea. And so if you are sitting there thinking about, we're going to go to dinner at 5, we're going to, we're going to go to the store at 6:30, it's not going to happen. Like the schedule is not going to happen, especially in the startup phase. And so it was hard for me to find that what everybody was telling me, this work-life, personal life balance. And I was like, it doesn't exist. What are you saying? They're like, well, you need to take time for yourself and, go do things and de-stress. And it's like, I don't think you understand. That's not possible right now. I don't need to de-stress at the moment because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. But once Sammy and I had that conversation, I realized that I don't believe in the whole work-life, personal life balance. It's an integration. How do I integrate it to the best of my ability that I can handle it at that moment, right? Because, like I said earlier, you don't know what's going to happen, and you can agree with the same thing. When Jen wakes up in the morning, you have no idea what's going to happen during that day with the business.
I have a plan, but it goes to all...
Yeah. The plan looks really pretty on paper, and that's why we have it, and we try to stick to it as close as possible, but you have to be ready to shift and adjust and move as fast as you can, because things aren't going to go as planned, and you want them to go as planned because your plan is in your head great. But you really do have to focus on that integration, right? You can know your limits at that time, right? How much can I do right now? How much will I be able to do later? What do I need to get done? What do I want to get done? You just ask yourself these different questions and figure out how to best implement that and integrate it into your life.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's screaming prioritization again, because you could be on a call, you could have your whole day lined up, and the call is a fire that you have to put out, and you have to stop and you have to address that. Or conversely, and this happens a lot too, you're on a call with someone and they open a door that is the best opportunity for you to take, and you literally have a shift in your strategy or shift in your direction. So it really is an integrative approach, and are always reassessing what is the most important thing right now and where am I driving to. So I'm going to ask the next question, because you mentioned one of your advisory board, and you're very young. And I'm going to be frank, because I sit on the board of a couple of different companies. I've been a mentor to many, many people. I still mentor a lot of people. I'm a business coach. I'm very selective about who I will mentor, who I will coach, and what boards I will sit on, because my time is very valuable, right? How are you able to find your first mentor or your next mentor? How were you able to pull together this advisory board as someone so young and relatively inexperienced in years, like in terms of years of experience with the business world?
I asked myself that same question last year when all this started. But after thinking about it a lot between then and now, it's very apparent to why we're able to have the names that we have involved, and why we're able to have the coaches and the guidance and the leadership that we are able to have at least just have conversation with. We may not work with them on a daily basis, but we still have conversation with them, right? And so the main thing from that was, to anybody who is especially in a younger position in regards to age, people are looking for people in that age range, right? Because it's super uncommon. It's not something that you walk down the street and go to your local diner and find somebody of that has those traits of, like, you can just kind of tell that they're different. And so whenever they do find that person who's like different, right?
Got the it factor. We call it, a lot of times we call it the it factor.
When they have it.
So technical here.
I know. Because I couldn't tell you what it is, because it feels internal to me. Like, the connection I have with people feels really internal. And so it's what do you look like? Not what do you look like, but how do you present yourself, whether it's in person or social media. And I think, like, the whole social media thing with what you're showcasing about you and what you do in your free time, there's a time and place for that, but it's not your social media account. And so every person that we bring onto our team and hire, we check their social media account. It's put over you in high school and in your career classes and business school, like, make sure your social media looks good. But no, seriously, make sure your social media looks good, because that is the first place that somebody's going to go to and look. And if you've got pictures of who knows what, that, use your imagination on that. But how do you present yourself? Are you a person who wears slacks and a button-up every day and a belt with nice shoes, or are you a person who wears gym pants and a long-sleeve T-shirt to a meeting, right? What's
your brand? It's your personal brand.
It's your personal brand. And so there's so much opportunity right now for young individuals, especially, to get leadership and guidance from people who have a lot more experience. And we actually just posted a content campaign on LinkedIn about this exact thing, and it talks about how the young are the innovators, right? They're the ones with the creative, they have all the creativity, the ones with the crazy ideas that nobody's thought of yet, because they're involved with all the transitioning in society and culture between technology and upcoming medical research and devices, you know, all these different forms of technology and just how we evolve as society. They're right in the middle of it because that's all they've ever had. Then you have your older generations, right? Our second and third tier generation that is experience. They have the experience, right? And that creativity bubble for most of them, it weeds out over time, and they become very honed in on, this is what I've done for 20 years, and we're going to continue doing it like this, and everything continues to evolve. It doesn't wait for you. And so you could bring this younger generation in and partner that up with the older generations, that second and third tier generations, and create this powerhouse, because you've got somebody that has these crazy ideas that need to be dialed down a little bit, and then you've got people that are older than you with quite a bit of experience that can say, okay, there was a similar situation that I was involved with. This part of it didn't work, but this part worked great, so I think we should do this. And then you create that powerhouse. And there's so much opportunity there because both sides of the equation are looking for people like that.
You're absolutely right. And what I look for a lot too, and I mean, I'm in the same situation. I'm in the older generation, of course. And what we have is we've been doing things a certain way, and we're looking for a different perspective. And the younger generation does not have any preconceived notions about how anything works in an industry because they've not been in the industry. They're new to the industry. So you bring, I hate to use fresh eyes, but it's fresh eyes on a situation. And what we bring to the table is we understand how to monetize. We understand what's going to work and what's not going to work based off of what the market research is, you know. And so it really is a match made in heaven when you bring all of those things together. So I think that's really important. And I want to speak a little bit to what you said about your personal brand and how you present yourself. And we call that executive presence, right? The it factor. You can tell somebody by their carriage. Are they confident but not arrogant? Like, are they confident? Are they able to carry themselves in such a way that they command a room? Are they personable? Are you willing to do what it takes? And you can see that is the social media consistent? Are they consistently saying the same things? Or are they changing their mind every step of the way? Like, there's a lot of things that are portrayed in media and social media and whatnot. But people are paying attention, and the people with money who are going to invest in startups and help people such as yourself to grow and to really scale to the next level, we pay attention to those things. And so I think your message is very important, and it's so critical for us to get that message to younger people because y'all are like the younger generation is idealists. They're the ones who are looking at sustainability and want to have a passion and a purpose, and we have to redirect ourselves that way because we want a world that's better than what we have today. And so we want to marry those two, but it does require work. It doesn't happen without work. If you're listening to this, Wade does a lot. He's young, so he has to put in the sweat equity. It's not like you can just all of a sudden start a business and miraculously, everything happens for you. Not even for those of us who have had multiple businesses. If you're bootstrapping a business, meaning you're starting it up and growing it from scratch, or you're buying a startup or whatnot, it takes a lot of work in the beginning. It's a sprint. Business is a marathon, but it's a sprint. And young people have a lot more energy than those of us who are grandparents to sprint in those bootstrap businesses. So I think it's really essential, some of the things that you said, Wade. I really appreciate that. And I want to ask you the next question because I know this is a fact. We talked about this before, and I did get permission for those who are wondering. You have ADD, ADHD, and a lot of people, especially in the younger generation, would use that as an excuse why not to be successful. However, when we look at you and we see the success that you have literally turned that into a reason to be successful. Can you kind of talk about turning that adversity and taking that challenge and making it a superpower? Because everybody who's listening and watching, we all have our things. We all have our challenges. None of us are perfect. None of us are born, amazing business people. But you are able to take that adversity and turn it into a strength. Talk to me a little bit about that because I think that's a real and relevant topic right now.
What's really, really funny, whenever you started talking about that, like right before you started to introduce that idea of talking about that, my brain was thinking about two things that you had said right before you asked the question, and I was like, I could really elaborate on that because I feel that. And so before I touch that, I'm just going to go back for like 30 seconds and put those two thoughts out there. So the first thing that really caught my attention was the whole thing with social media and the presence on social media, the personal brand, right? And it's not how cute your pictures are or how beautiful they look. It doesn't, no. At the end of the day, one of my coaches now taught me this. At the end of the day, nobody cares that you went to the lake last weekend and spent 2 days with your family on a boat. Nobody really cares. They like the photo because they haven't seen you in 6 months, whatever it is. You might get a lot of engagement. You might get a lot of comments. Oh, so cute, right? A bunch of emojis. It's cute on private profiles, right? That's somebody that you really know and have a relationship with. But when it comes to your business brand, no, that's not going to make the investor go, I trust you with
my money.
My money. Yeah. So none of that. If you go look at my profiles, there's none of that on mine. It's all things that we do. They might be good pictures like selfies with our team, but there's value behind the post. It's not just look at our new boat we got. We're going to vacation in Cancun, whatever it is. So now that I said that, I don't remember what the other thought was, but I'll go ahead and answer the other one. It did at first with the whole ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. At first, it was very difficult to kind of realize what was going on mentally because it used to not be a problem. Back in high school, it wasn't really a problem because I was in one lane, I was on one track, I had the same routine every day, went to school, went to work, went home, did my homework, went to sleep. Woke up, it's the same process every day, and so there wasn't anything that I was bringing back in to my operating processes that would cause a bunch of creativity or a bunch of different thoughts. And so it was very constrained. There wasn't a lot going on. When I got to college, though, I was more free, right? I had a lot of extra free time, and with me being kind of all over the place and impulsive, I really didn't. I really couldn't stay focused. And so that's when all the ideas started to rush in, and I started to really build on all the ideas and writing them down and building them out more and more and more and more and more. And then it got to a point where it was very overwhelming because, as you know, us being similar in that situation, it never stops. And there's no way to flick a switch and turn it off. And a lot of people will tell me, just turn it off. And it's like, well, thank you for that piece of advice. I can't turn it off. I don't think you understand. So at that time, I was like, this is inconvenient. There is nothing I can do. Like, I have to back out for a little bit and like rejoin my senses until I realized that it was that ADD and ADHD that was propelling me. Like, that was everything that we do that's crazy and spontaneous and impulsive was because of a crazy thought that I had at 3 o'clock in the morning when I was up writing brand guidelines or something. And they've all just developed from that. All those creative ideas have come from that ADD and ADHD. And so you really have to find those things that it's benefiting and propelling forward. And then just reroute it into one thing. Stop having 19 different things and just rewrite all the concepts into one structure or one business or one part of your life, and just route all of it there, and you'll be shocked at how fast that part grows. I mean, weeks. It'll be fully developed in the eyes of society, but really you have 1,000 more ideas. Mm-hmm. And again, it's speed of implementation. That's the other big thing with ADD and ADHD in business is you just have to go and do it and get it done as fast as you possibly can.
Because otherwise it won't get done.
It won't get done, and you're probably going to forget about it. So.
That's right. So you've turned it into a superpower by learning
Mm-hmm.
how to navigate the waters. Unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, and we're nearing the end of our episode. So Wade, you have been tremendous. You've talked about a lot of things that we don't really get to talk about a lot on the show because we have the element of, 21 years old, already inducted to the Texas Business Hall of Fame, really successful at an early age. So thank you so much for your insights and for everything. For people who are watching who might want to learn more about your businesses and the things that you're doing, or maybe want to talk about it, maybe the youth want to talk about, hey, how do I get started? How do I put this into play? How can they reach you?
So with literally just us finishing that last conversation, the ADD thing, my preferred contact method is email. It probably makes me seem like I'm super old, but love email because it's all on one screen, it's all organized, right? It automatically categorizes everything for me. I don't have to deal with it. If you DM me on social media, it's most likely you're not going to get a response just because I find social media messaging very overwhelming. So email me. You can find my email on my website, bottom of the screen. Just shoot me an email. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. But for the most consistent responses, just email me.
You got it. Email wade@wademccrory.com. You have been amazing. Thank you for everything that you have brought. And now I'm going to speak to you, yes, the audience. You have been here. You have heard about turning your challenges and your adversity into a superpower by learning how to work through those challenges. You've heard about raising money, how to set the bar for your investors and overperform and over-deliver for them. You've heard about how to find mentors, how to shift your community, and how to really set yourself for success no matter whether you're, in high school or college or the other end of the spectrum. So if you have found value from this, please let me know. What is the one thing that you heard today that you're going to take away? Is it mind mapping? Is it you're going to mind map your client journey so you can totally look at that client perspective from a 360-degree experience? Is it going to be, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to over-deliver and under-promise? What is your action step for today? And begin. You heard Wade talk about speed of implementation. If we don't start and do something a little bit different today, then tomorrow's going to be exactly the same. And let's create that positive momentum, create that shift so that we can grow our businesses, grow it personally and professionally, and actually create the success that we want for tomorrow and the next day and the next. Unfortunately, all good things do come to an end, including this show, but I am here for you. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. We will be here same time, same station next week. Until then, go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a Now Media television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
¿Quieres que tu negocio crezca y todo parece indicar que el camino es Estados Unidos? Te dijeron que abras una LLC para que no pagues impuestos, mas no tienes idea de cómo hacerlo. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como empresario en Estados Unidos para que tú no te equivoques en los mismos errores que yo ya realicé. Sígueme en todas las redes sociales para que juntos conquistemos el mercado americano.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de Now Media es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Hey, this is Michael Rager, the host of Biz Talk TV with Michael Rager. Make sure you join us every day, 5 p.m. Central Time on all Now Media channels and social media platforms.
¿Sueñas con vender tus productos o servicios en Estados Unidos? Pareciera muy difícil, mas no es imposible. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años de experiencia promoviendo productos latinoamericanos en el principal mercado del mundo. Si quieres aprender más, sígueme en todas mis redes sociales.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.
Hey, welcome to Biz Talk TV. I'm your host and business guide, Michael Rager. I'm telling you, this is going to be a fun and exciting show today. We've got to talk about growing your business. You know, you as business owners, they think that they really want to grow their business through marketing, sales, and stuff like that. And trust me, that helps. But the number one way to be